Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
A showering way to go. Retired Detective Kendra O'Connor loved her shower time. She always had to have a shower before she felt fresh, alive, and able to tackle anything that the day threw at her. But before this strange case, she never ever believed that showers could be used to kill someone. As Kendra stood in the large spacious bathroom in one of London's posh hotels, she just couldn't believe that some people actually wanted this stuff. The bathroom was actually so massive that there was a small coffee table, 2 chairs, and a newspaper stand there in the middle. That was just so unneeded, because why the hell would someone sit and read a newspaper in the bathroom? It just flat out made no sense, but considering Kendra had seen a fully stocked wine, beer, and spirits bar in the bedroom of the hotel room, she supposed she shouldn't get too excited about the strangeness of it all. Because if she had learnt one thing as a detective over the decades, it was that the rich and powerful and annoying always wanted to burn their money away. And this hotel room was definitely a way to do just that. But Kendra did like the rather wonderful array of red, blue and green colored bathroom tiles that were arranged in a delightful nautical pattern that would have looked awful and just plain old tacky if it was anywhere else but this hotel room. Even the toilet, sink and cabinets were made from solid marble with gold veining running through it. The longer Kendra stayed here, the more and more certain she was becoming that only the top 1% of the 1% stayed here. No one else could afford, that was a certainty. As a member of the London Metropolitan Police Cold Case Taskforce, Kendra absolutely loved solving cold cases, helping people get justice decades or merely years after the police investigation, and most importantly, she didn't have to do any paperwork as she was retired. If that little detail was stuck on an advertisement, then the task force could easily become the largest department in the country, if not the world. No one liked paperwork, and Kendra was just grateful she no longer had to do it. As Kendra waited for her 2 best friends, retired Detective Jeff Long, who was the official head of the task force, and retired junior officer Patricia Nelson, Kendra enjoyed the wonderful fruity aromas of pineapple, apples and peaches as she waited for her friends to arrive so they could hopefully solve the cold case. Horatio Nelson, no relation to Patricia Nelson, was one of the hotel's most famous and frequent guests up until 5 years ago when he had been found in his hotel shower dead. Now, if that was just the case, then Kendra wouldn't have minded one bit, but considering the killer had taken the shower head off the shower hose and forced it down Horatio's throat and turned on the shower, it was a very messy crime scene. Kendra hated looking at the crime scene photos, because the killer had just left the water running down Horatio's throat for hours, until the body was discovered. By that time the water had basically popped out of his stomach, eyes and softer parts of his body. And to Kendra's utter horror, detectives discovered that the killer had superglued the shower hose into the victim's throat, so it couldn't pop out by accident. That was just disgusting, outrageous and awful. And the police had had barely any luck tracking down suspects, finding forensics, or doing anything to solve the case. All of Horatio's friends and employees at his own multi-millionaire pound investment company loved him, and always said how wonderful he was. From what Kendra could find out about the victim, he and his employees weren't just saying that. He paid well above what he should have. He gave them all private medical insurance so they didn't have to sit in painfully long NHS queues, and he always gave them surprise bonuses. And to Kendra's utter surprise, he actually hired people from disadvantaged backgrounds. On all the cases she'd worked on over the past few years, She had only ever seen straight white men from rich areas work in these high-stake investment companies. Of course, there was absolutely nothing wrong with those people. Hell, Kendra's own husband was one of them. But it was really refreshing to read a millionaire that actually cared about everyone. Yet Kendra still couldn't understand who would want to kill him. Kendra felt her phone buzz, and she couldn't understand why Patricia was calling her, considering both her and Jeff were meant to be up here helping her solve the case. She answered. "Hi, hon," Patricia said. But Kendra could clearly tell that something was wrong. The giveaway was the shouting and sound of drilling and electronic saws more than Patricia herself. "Where are you?" Kendra asked. Kendra heard Patricia pass the phone to someone. "Hi, Ken," Jeff said. "We have a little problem. Me and Patricia got the lift up to see you, but it broke down half down up and we're stuck between floors." Wow. Only Jeff Long could get himself into those types of situations. And at least Kendra now knew never ever to get into a lift with him. "And the rescue team says there is another complication," Jeff said. "Apparently the brakes that stop the lift from moving too fast have broken, and the cables that hold the lift in place are starting to break ever so slowly." Kendra didn't know what to actually say to him. But of all the people in the entire world, only Jeff Long could get himself into this sort of situation. Typical. "Stay safe," Kendra said. "Should I come to you both?" Kendra heard the phone switch hands. "No, hon," Patricia said. "But dearest, we're both a little scared, so we want you to know that we both love you, and thank you everything you've done for us over the year and a bit." Kendra rolled her eyes. The last thing she wanted to think about was the potential death of her friends. "I love you both too. But put the phone on speaker, and we'll solve the case together." "Patricia, got your laptop?" Kendra asked. "Yes, hun." Kendra just smiled as she heard through the phone 70-something-year-old Patricia getting out her very high-tech and expensive laptop from her bag. Kendra was so glad that Patricia had it. "Right, hun's connected to hotel Wi-Fi," Patricia said. "Great," Jeff said. "Let's start off with the basics. What about camera footage from the night he died?" "Nah," Patricia said. "No cameras were working the night he died, and the original investigation looked into that angle. The cameras were down for real reasons. It wasn't because the killer turned them off." Kendra focused on the large shower where the body had been found, and actually the entire room just seemed so strangely big. It was either the sort of room where you bring someone to show off how wealthy and powerful you are, or only really arrogant, pompous people would want a room this big all to himself. And Horatio Nelson didn't seem like the arrogant type. He had to bring someone here. "How about," Kendra asked, looking at who arrived with him when he stayed at the hotel before. Kendra listened to Patricia typing on her laptop through the phone, and Kendra was betting it was going to be a girlfriend, secret boyfriend, or someone on the executive board. "It seems like he always used to come here with his daughter and son," Patricia said. "The mother died 10 years ago from a swimming drowning," Jeff said. Kendra just nodded. That wasn't ideal for any family, and especially considering Horatio's children were probably no older than 12 and 10 when their mother died. "Where were they when their father died?" Kendra asked. "It's not in the original police report. I'm going to use their historical phone data to try and ping them," Patricia said. "Can you do that?" Jeff asked. Kendra just smiled. It definitely wasn't strictly legal, but considering the Taskforce didn't need to abide by every single little rule, or any rules for that matter, it would be fine. "Here, huns," Patricia said. It turned out that both the brother and the sister were at an illegal rave at the night of the murder. "I have social media videos and pictures to confirm." "How you get that so quickly?" Jeff asked. "That wasn't a bad question, actually." "Oh, Jeff," Patricia said. "I simply uploaded the photos of the brother and sister into my custom-designed facial recognition software, and then I went through the main social media sites." Kendra loved how Patricia was always one step ahead of them in the tech space, but that gave Kendra an idea. What if someone else posted hate or a death threat towards Horatio? Can you modify that software to search for death threats and hate? Kendra asked. Good idea, Jeff said. No, Hans. I cannot modify this software, but I do have another one that might do the trick. Kendra was starting to get very curious about what the hell Patricia did in her retirement. The task force normally met 3 days a week to solve cases. Kendra, Patricia, and Jeff were best friends, so they normally went round each other's houses with their partners to drink and catch up on another day. But now Kendra really wanted to know what happened on Patricia's other days off. Watch out! Someone shouted. Something smashed onto the top of the lift. Everything okay? Kendra shouted. Patricia and Jeff were silent for a few moments until Patricia slowly said yes. Kendra seriously wanted both of them out of that lift immediately. But all she could do to protect herself and her friends from panicking was to focus on solving the case. Here, Patricia said. Someone posted a lot of hate and death threats to Horatio on a far-right social media site in the hours before the murder. I'm tracking down the IP address now. It took a few moments for Kendra to remember that weird techie word, but whilst that was going on, Kendra really wanted to do actual police work. Kendra went over to the large door and stood in the doorway. The police report said that Horatio hadn't been dragged anywhere, so he was already in the bathroom. Kendra looked behind her and noticed that the door into the hotel room wasn't that far away from the bathroom door. So theoretically, and Kendra was only guessing here, but if the victim had heard the main door open, then it was reasonable for them to come out and check it. Surely. Kendra knew from experience that whenever her husband had gone out from the hotel room and he came back Kendra always checked to see who was, if she was out on the balcony or something. It was probably a flaw of being a detective working kidnapping and murders for so long, but it was true. So if Horatio was in the bathroom when the hotel door opened, like the police report suggested, then why didn't he come out of the bathroom to check? Even if he poked his head out of the bathroom, he still would have seen who it was. But the police report firmly suggested that he was attacked and died in the shower, or very close to it, because there was absolutely no drag marks. Kendra quickly realized that it had to be someone Horatio knew, and knew very well for him not to feel the need to double-check who it was. Oh my God, Hans, Patricia said. Kendra, Jeff said. It's the daughter. The daughter founded a far-right social media group known as Mars, after the Roman god of war. She hated her father for being so nice to the non-white, non-rich, lazy idiots at his company. And Hun, Patricia said, she had called for an all-out race war with the purebloods winning and enslaving the tainted bloods. Kendra just laughed. Despite how many far-right idiots she met up with, Kendra could just never understand their ideology and their stupid beliefs. Then Kendra told them about her theory of the killer being someone Horatio knew. I'm going back over the social media videos and pictures to see if there's a gap in the daughter's timeline, Patricia said. Good. We need to find that her alibi's fake, Jeff said. As Kendra smelt more of the wonderfully fruity hints of apples, pineapples, and peaches that filled the air, she had a feeling that the daughter wasn't the killer, and maybe she had a little help. Guys, Kendra said, not trying to be sexist or anything. But do you think it's a bit far-fetched that very young woman could attack her father who was a lot bigger than her, pull him into the shower and superglue a shower hose, all without getting forensic evidence onto the bathroom? True, Jeff said. Do you think a tall, handsome 6'6" man could do it with large biceps, a probable six-pack, and very strong muscles on his legs, hun? Patricia asked. Kendra just nodded behind the phone. A loud scratching sound echoed down the phone, and Kendra felt her stomach twist at the idea that something had happened to her best friends. Then 4 things dropped. What? Kendra shouted. Relax, Ken, Jeff said. The rescue crews just threw down 2 bottles of water and 2 sandwiches for us." "Good," Kendra said. She hadn't realized until now how tense she was about the entire situation. "Who's the man then, Pat?" Kendra asked. "His name is Jeremiah Alson. He's in every single picture with the daughter, but he disappears 10 minutes from the time of death window starts, and he doesn't return until an hour before the window ends, and he's changed clothes," Patricia said. "Not exactly a smoking gun," Jeff said. Kendra smiled as she heard Patricia splash him with some of her water. At least they were in high spirits. "Not exactly," Patricia said, "but what if I told you that he was caught on a traffic camera just a block from the hotel that night?" Kendra nodded, even though Patricia couldn't see her. That was great work, and finally they had their killer. "Is that enough to call in the active detectives?" Kendra asked Jeff. "Definitely. I'll call them the moment we're out of the lift," Jeff said. A second before Kendra was going to hang up, she heard the lift slowly open, and Patricia shouted in delight, and Jeff just laughed. They were free, and finally Horatio's killer could be brought to justice. "Meet me in the hotel bar," Kendra said playfully as Patricia cut the line. Kendra had absolutely no clue why it took Patricia and Jeff an extra 20 minutes to come down to the hotel bar, but when they did, Kendra was just pleased to see them. Despite them both being absolutely soaking wet, and water dripping off them both. Kendra had to admit that Patricia probably looked really nice with her long white dress if it wasn't soaking wet. And Jeff probably would have looked good too if he was dripping wet with his black shoes, trousers and white shirt. Kendra smiled at them as they sat down either side of her at the Marble Hotel bar, on a very tall bar stool that Kendra wasn't completely sure she was going to be able to get off them with some help. But she couldn't deny how great it was to have her 2 best friends in the entire world safely returned to her. As Jeff ordered himself a cold beer and Patricia ordered a very, very large glass of wine, Kendra played with the paper straw in her fruity cocktail. That filled the air with scents of apples, strawberries and blueberries. It almost reminded her of her grandmother's sensational berry pies in the 50s and 60s. Those were great days. "What happened with the water?" Kendra asked. Patricia huffed but smiled and just looked at Jeff. "Well, after our little lift adventure," Jeff said, "I wanted to go into the bathroom and splash some water on my face. But the problem was, hun," Patricia said, "the ladies' toilet was out of order on that floor and no one was about. So I suggested she come into the men's, and they both went to 2 sinks. Patricia was fine but my tap wasn't working," Jeff said. Kendra just smiled. This was going to be good. "So I went hun and bashed the tap," Patricia said. Suddenly the tap fell over. A fountain of water splashed out soaking us. They all laughed, and Kendra was definitely going to make sure she didn't go in the same toilets as Jeff in the future. "What did the active detectives say?" Kendra asked. "They picked her up and interviewed her under caution whilst me and Patricia were in the water fountain," Jeff said. "Turns out, hun," Patricia said, "that the daughter caved instantly because she sold off and dismantled the far-right website the day after her father's death because she ordered that man not to kill him. But he did, and she hated herself ever since for the death." "Why kill him in the first place?" Kendra asked. Patricia shrugged. "Jeremiah's being picked up now. But hun, he wrote the daughter a letter explaining why he did it, and she gave it to the police." Kendra leant forward. "Turns out," Patricia said, "that Jeremiah wanted the daughter all to himself for love, and so they could both plan how to start, and I quote, the race war to end all wars. And killing the millionaire who was obviously against them was a great starting point." Kendra just shook her head and took a massive gulp of her drink. There were certainly some crazies in the world, but Kendra was more than glad that they had stopped another one today. And now the police had information to start dismantling the website permanently and target those who bought the website from Horatio's daughter in the first place. As Patricia and Jeff kept talking and laughed, Kendra just hung on to their every word because these 2 people were truly amazing. They were resilient, crazy, and rather accident-prone, but Kendra couldn't think of any other people she would rather have at her side. At least now Horatio's family, son and workers would finally have an answer to what happened to such a wonderfully generous man. And that was the perfect end to a very interesting day for Kendra, and she was more than excited for what the rest of the day would bring.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the internet engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.